we'll go from the top, I guess.
Yes.
Welcome back to My Body, My Jokes. It's me, it's Morgan. And this time my letterboard sign is already on because I already turned it on because this is the second time we're recording. We had a little malfunction, but it's fine. We're working out the equipment. We're figuring it out. Thank you to my OnlyFans followers for giving me this equipment. You guys are awesome, even though some of this I am frustrated with, but thank you for supporting the pod. As always, throw me a like, throw me a comment, anything you can spare, please, Father. And I have a comedy show coming up at the Pearl on May 9th. It's a sapphic comedy show. It's the first of its kind at the Pearl and maybe in Denver. There haven't been a ton of like sapphic comedy shows specifically. So it's going to be really fun. It's a really good lineup. You can find tickets at the link in my bio, my website. You could just Google Denver Sapphic Comedy Show. It's literally the only one, so you'll find it. And that's going to be really fun. But enough with all of the announcements. Today I have a very special guest who, weirdly enough, I'm meeting for the first time. First time meeting, come into my house, play with my cat. I love it. My cat loves her so much already. And you'll see him on the camera. He'll come over again. But she is a dancer, a podcast host, a producer, a sex educator, and an all-around burlesque goddess. Give it up for Alabaster.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm excited. Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're meeting for the first time.
I know, it's funny. Well, I've definitely like stalked you for so long.
And when I think that we've been like just slightly, we're like ships in the night.
Yep.
With each other with our circles. Mm-hmm. So it was like even when you reached out to me, I knew who you were and I was like, I have no idea how.
Oh, that's so funny.
But I do.
Yeah. Well, it is like a very small circle of like dancers / performers in the Denver area, especially because I heard about you from, I go to Hard Candy Dance Studio and that's where I dance and I do like Colfax Candy and it was Vanessa from Burlesque, or AKA Anita Salsita, who was like, oh, you should interview Alabaster. Like, she talks a lot about, like, body stuff and journeys and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, my God, that's perfect. Like, you're the first burlesque performer that I've had
Which is
on
an
the
honor.
pod.
I'm very excited. It's... I don't know. I think it's also very funny that Anita she just plugs me everywhere. And
That's awesome. We love a hype girl, though. Like, we love a hype man.
She's wonderful.
Yes.
She's a wonderful person. Thank you, Anita. I love you.
And so I wanted to have you on because to me, burlesque is like a very body empowerment type of performance. And we already talked about this, so I am like kind of like almost going back on my wording, but like burlesque is like a theatrical type of performance that kind of combines like sensual movement, satire, suggestive humor, and dance to create this kind of cohesive art form.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know, it's, I had started saying this, and then I need to remember exactly how I said it because I finally got the definition out correctly in one go. So, burlesque and drag are very similar in like that they're caricatures of something that we already like understand as a society.
Yes.
So drag tends to be a caricature of gender. It's taking different aspects of gender and just like taking it to the extreme and then putting it on stage. And burlesque is that with sex and sensuality. So it's taking all of the sensual movement, the striptease, and taking it to an extreme and then putting it on stage. And there's usually some sort of focus on kind of the policing of bodies that is what we take and turn it into satire. It's like, oh, I'm going to be turned into a sex object anyway?
Yeah, like
let me do it my way.
Yes.
And come here. It's what initially drew me to it, and I would say that like it isn't always satire. What I put on stage all the time isn't satire. On occasion, it's very much like fuck you. This is how I'm doing it. And every once in a while, it's just I have like a funny, stupid little idea, and then sometimes it's like I just need to get into a flow state on stage and see what comes out. So like it kind of morphs into whatever I need it to be.
Yeah. I love burlesque because I'll be so honest, like, it used to make me really uncomfortable, and I think it was more because I was closeted, but also because I would like watch women feel like empowered by their sexuality, and that freaked me out because I've always been like, no, we need to like hide ourselves because we're constantly in danger.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I actually said that to someone at Hard Candy recently because like in Colfax Candy, like we obviously do a big show, and some of the numbers you wear pasties, like some of them are more like burlesque-y than others.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know which ones I'm like totally in yet. And I was like, fuck, I don't know, like, can I wear pasties? Like, and it has nothing to do with me being embarrassed of my body. It has everything to do with me being like, there are gonna be creepy men in the audience, and that freaks me out.
It's a thing. I mean, I still kind of deal with that. So like I had a very conservative upbringing, so like a lot of anything like overtly sexual, especially like publicly, I struggled with for a very, very long time. And pretty much the only reason actually that I got into burlesque, it was, why does half of my life come down to school assignments? I'm just now realizing.
I mean, hey, she's an academic queen.
But in undergrad, I ended up taking a class, and it was like Sex and Society or something like
Ooh,
that.
that sounds like a cool class.
It was
it a Soc class?
Yes.
Yeah.
My undergrad is in psychology and sociology. And then I ended up getting my master's in sex education. But like one of the assignments was that I had to do something that put me outside of my comfort zone, having to do with sexuality. And like in one of my other classes, we had gone on like an extra credit field trip to a burlesque show. And I thought it was like really fun. And like I was still very much just like, how can people do that? And I was like definitely more of the risque one, like in my friend group. So me pushing back was like still a thing, but like I ended up taking a burlesque workshop as my assignment. And I just stuck with it. I loved it.
That's
so
cool.
much.
Had you danced before?
So I was a theater kid in high school.
So you like understood the stage a little bit.
Yeah. So I have always loved the stage. I am pretty sure that I have been like making up dance routines and forcing my loved ones to witness them.
Yes, that's how you know. That's how you know you're born to be a performer, is when you're like, Mom, Dad, sit down. I did this Hannah Montana dance.
My brother and my brother's girlfriends. I loved showing my brother's girlfriends things. Like I was just like, do you like my cheerleading routine?
Yes. Do you want to watch my 90-degree bop ma?
Like it was ridiculous. And like I was doing entirely inappropriate dances to like Destiny's Child when I was like 7.
You have to.
And
you have to. It's a canon event.
Yeah. And then I just kind of never stopped making my need to perform be other people's problem.
Where did you go to school?
Colorado Springs.
Okay, because I went to CU Boulder, and I also took a sociology class where our extra credit was to go to Clock Tower and to do a show or watch a show there.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Because since I was talking about me being 7, I thought you meant where like grew up. I went to CU Boulder as well for college.
Okay, cool. Okay. That's so funny.
Was it still Matt, what's his name, who teaches the one that goes to Clock Tower?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. I feel like it was I graduated in 2017. So
I graduated in 2014.
Okay,
I am older than you.
So you get it. I feel like he was such a good teacher. And I remember I couldn't go because I think I either had my own show or something. And I was so upset because I really wanted to go. But I like burlesque because something that really bothers me is that in comedy, I feel like I hear a lot of tropes about dancing and dancers and women who participate in dance as adults. And I don't know if it's just because of like the comedy I've paid attention to, but there was a comedian. It was probably on some dumb podcast, and maybe I saw it on TikTok or something. But he was like, burlesque is just an excuse for fat women to strip. And I remember like seeing that and feeling so upset and feeling so incredibly hurt because the idea that like a woman who lives in a larger body isn't allowed to participate in an activity that is inherently built by women is so weird to me.
Also, even if that was true, who the fuck cares? Let them strip.
Yeah. And so I love that there's like this kind of, I feel like for me and what I've witnessed as an adult, like especially the community here is that it is very body positive.
Yes.
And there's no like barrier to entry. It's not like you have to try out to be in a burlesque show and you have to like send in your measurements and like, line up at a wall like you're a like it's like, no, if you have a routine, you can audition.
Actually a very large amount of pushback because every once in a while there will still be postings that go up, and they're usually not from within the community. It will usually be like outside people being like, we are looking for, and it's like a casting call, and it will say things like, send in your like headshot, a body shot, and measurements, and everybody's like, why?
Yeah.
Why is that necessary? And they usually shoot back with, to make sure that the costumes will fit you. Which people are then like, okay, well, why don't you have a wider range of costume sizes?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I think that it's a thing where it definitely ebbs and flows. I would not say that the burlesque community is perfect with its body inclusivity. Yeah. There still tends to be tendencies for certain bodies to get cast more than others. But I would say that there is a push for it to be more inclusive on all levels, including like skin tone, body size, ability, like able-bodiedness.
Yes.
And there's a push. It can always be better, but I think that it's less constricted than some other like art forms that you'll see a lot of the time.
And so you, as I mentioned, like obviously you're a dancer, you're a producer, you have 2 podcasts.
Yes.
One of them is burlesque focused. It's called Papa Pasty, which I love.
Yeah, I interview local performers to see what makes them tick. And I hope that if the general public like hears more about the people behind the fully beat face and the pasties and the feathers and the sequins and the fake blood, that they might get butts in seats more, invest a little bit more money.
Hell yes.
And then it's just really nice for just the community to hear all of the different takes of why people have gotten into this, because we all have such wildly different stories.
Yes. And then you also have another podcast that's more focused on sex education.
Yes. That one's called Gaps in Carnal Knowledge. That one has existed for several years. That one also started as a school project.
I love that for you.
And then I just kind of, I wouldn't say never dropped it. It's been on pause several times. But I interview just everyday people about the sex ed that they got when they were growing up and whether or not that prepared them to be a fully fledged adult. Usually the answer is not.
Yeah, I have never met anyone that was like, yeah, I felt fully prepared after 8th grade health class. Like, not one person.
Yeah, I've even interviewed some people who, oddly enough, New Jersey is kind of like a leader in comprehensive sex ed.
What?
They like have
New Jersey?
New Jersey.
What? That's so random.
I know. But they have their like standard sex ed curriculum is comprehensive. It does include contraception. And it's I believe that now it also includes LGBTQ topics as well.
Wow. That's like, even though that should be like the bare minimum, that is like so progressive now.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The other leader, this one's going to sound even more surprising, is the Unitarian Church.
What?
Yes, the Unitarian Church actually has some of the most comprehensive sex ed that exists, and they start it very, very young.
In like Sunday school?
It's I don't really know how they implement it, honestly. I should know because one of my teachers was one of the writers of
Oh my god.
And I unknowingly ripped one of her curriculums to shreds in one of my projects.
Oof, nice.
She actually told me, she was like, oh, that was an older version, and we actually corrected most of the things that you talked about since then. And I was like, oh my
look
God,
at you.
Don't expel me. But they start very, very young with things like boundary setting and
I love
like
that.
what
Like
good
consent.
friendships look
Yes.
like, and
Wow.
things about like just like body. It takes you through like body changes, and they have like a whole entire thing about like abuse and violence, like
Oh my
within
God.
families and stuff, and like it's all age appropriate. They don't just like start talking to third graders
yeah.
about intercourse.
Yeah.
But they have like adult curriculum too that's like implemented into their marriage counseling and
I kind
stuff
of wish
like
I
that.
could like go to that now.
It's
Like I want to
some
go
people
take a
do.
sex ed class now.
Some people do, and like honestly, when people hear that I'm a sex educator for adults, they're like, they don't need it. I'm like, yes, they do.
Yes.
I
yeah.
still need it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
a degree in this shit, and
Well,
I still
if
need
anything,
it.
it's just like it's like a refresher almost, especially
Yeah.
if you're someone that like maybe you've been in a long-term relationship or maybe you like have been abstinent or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's nice to again understand just like human sexuality.
Yes, and plus, like, sexuality is such a fluid thing too. Gender is a fluid thing. Our understandings of ourselves throughout our lifetime changes, and a lot of the times, like, we won't have knowledge on things because we've never had reason to question them up to a certain point in our lives.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And it's also just like, sexuality also encompasses like the relationships that we have with one another that aren't necessarily sexual, but just like intimate in certain ways. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
things around boundary setting and our relationship with ourselves, that's a one
So
that
important.
doesn't get covered enough.
Yes.
And especially as sex ed is especially important for women because we tend to have longer lives. We live until we're older, and a lot of us will experience periods of being entirely alone.
Yes. Yep.
And we need to figure out how to exist with ourselves.
Yeah. Join a commune.
And it's so yeah, it like encompasses so many different things. But yeah, no, we don't know everything about sex no matter who we are.
Yep.
And we are always learning more, and the world always changes, and we always change, and we need to learn and adapt and grow with it.
Yes, I love that. And thank you for being one of those people that like helps us do that.
Thank you for being receptive to it. Not everybody is.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm at a point with my personal life where I'm like gearing up to have a gay ass summer. Like I
Do it.
am finally exploring my queerness. And so now I'm at a point where I'm like I just got this haircut. Like I used to have just like same length, just
the blunt cut?
Yeah. Side part, very hetero, very hetero. And I went to my hairstylist and I was like, "Hey, can you make it look like I at least am like a little queer?" And she was like, "Yeah, let's we'll do a shag." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do a shag."
Yep.
So I'm interested in like, I'm at that point where I'm like, I've never really like been with women. I want to make sure that I'm like being respectful. 'Cause in this weird way, I always have this like huge fear that if I flirt with a woman, I'm coming off as a creepy dude. Even if I'm being like just, oh my God, I love your dress. I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm objectifying her, because I hate when men flirt with me.
I am going to tell you right now that feeling doesn't really go away.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
It doesn't really go away. And it will switch wildly between thinking that you are being way too obvious, you're being creepy, oh my God, I'm no better than a man in a public space.
Yes.
And then it'll swing wildly to the other side where you're just like, I don't know if she knows that I'm flirting with her.
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
to be more obvious.
Yes.
And it will just go everywhere. And you will say, I'm telling you right now, there will be times that you will go up to a woman and you will be like, hello, I love your face. I would like my face to be on your face. And she'll be like, thank you, I got my makeup at Sephora. And you're like, ugh.
Oh no. It is, yeah, it's such a tough world. The sapphic world is like so scary to me. But I did want to ask you, because I ask all of my guests this, obviously like I feel like from my perspective, you seem like someone that's very in touch with your body and like who you are. So I want to ask you, like, what's your current relationship with your body?
In one word, complicated.
I mean, hey,
always.
are all of our relationships like that?
It has evolved wildly over the years. I'm in a bit of a new complicated relationship with it just because like I am approaching my mid-30s and I am in an industry where my job relies on me being perceived as attractive or at least feeling attractive myself to exude that. And I have always been one of those people that like everybody's just like, oh my goodness, you look so young. You don't look your age. Like I have, everybody thought I was like 12 until I was like 18, and then everybody thought I was 18 until I was 26, and like up until 2 years ago, I was getting like, oh my god, you look 23, and I don't really have people commenting on how old I look anymore, but like,
thank God. It's
like when can I just live?
Yeah, it's such a weird compliment to get.
It is, but I mean, it's like my joints are 87.
Those are dancer joints.
Yes, and I'm mildly hypermobile, so like my joints are now really rioting. They're just like, excuse me, you can't do all of this bullshit that you've been doing for years to me. So it's a complicated thing because I feel like I have a lot of confidence in my body. I don't know why all of a sudden I got embarrassed to admit this on a recording microphone when I have said this into the live microphone so many times.
It's different because then it lives on forever.
I know. So I am slightly, I don't know if you've heard of the term autosexual.
Yes, but I feel like if I try to define it, I'm going to get it wrong.
So autosexual, the simplest way to define it is that there is a sexual orientation where you are attracted to yourself just as much as or more than you are attracted to other people.
Okay, yes, yeah.
And I would say I slightly identify as autosexual on top of being bisexual, but like I think I'm hot.
Yeah. I think that's awesome.
And I even have a burlesque act about me being so incredibly narcissistic that I needed to make a burlesque act about it. And I force people to hold full-length mirrors after I tell them that they're going to get a lap dance, but really they're just holding the mirrors for me to give myself a lap dance. Nice. The old bait and switch. But like, yeah, so I have this incredible, like, yes, look at me, I am so hot, and I think my body is capable of doing, like, some really, really cool things, and I love showcasing that on stage, and at the same time, like, I also have these times of just, like, wow, I don't really like how my body looks today, and it's not the usual, like, when I say all of this, this is in no way negating fat phobia in any way. Well, it's rooted in fat phobia, honestly, because I have been dangerously skinny most of my life, not through any effort of my own.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, it was one of those things where like a lot of my issues about how tiny I am have just been I've pushed them down because like I've been told my whole entire life like, no, that's what you're supposed to strive for.
Yes, yes.
When it was almost always teetering on a dangerously small level. Like, I used to pass out a bunch when I was little because I didn't think, when I say little, why am I saying little? I was a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, so now it's at the point where, like, I know what I need to do in order to keep my body in functioning order. But, I don't know. I get mad at my body sometimes still for being what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just angry, but it's also me just being mostly angry at the world because I have so much background in sex ed and realizing all of the cultural aspects that go into how I feel about my body where I'm just like, curse you, culture.
For sure.
And yeah, so it's a very complicated thing. I love my relationship with my body because it allows me to make a living.
Yeah.
I get to do some really cool things. I get to yell at people about how I'm hot in a microphone, which is like things that I'm just like, how is this my life? This is great.
I know, it's weird.
But at the same time, like when I'm sitting at home the next day and my joints are on fire and I like am having a hard time functioning, it's just like, I feel like it's not anything special because so many of us have complicated relationships with our body. Like they do so much wonderful stuff for us and then I want to throw it into a garbage can the next day.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I ask this question, like I'm always curious to see how people interpret the question because I think a lot of folks have interpreted it as what is your relationship with how your body looks? And which is kind of like the default answer,
Yeah.
right? Because when we think about our bodies, it tends to be that the first thing we think about is how they look rather than how they function. And so you're one of the first guests to really talk more about like, no, it's like my joints, it's like my systems, it's like my sex education, and it's not as much about like, oh yeah, I like how I look or I don't like how I look. I think that's really cool.
It comes down to a really it comes down to a sad thing that I've been told that I am perceived as attractive since I was way too young to be hearing things like that. And at some point I decided to start believing them, and people have been mad at me ever since. So
yeah, you can't win.
You can't.
It's the same thing as like if you're a virgin until you're married, you're a prude, but if you have sex at whatever age, you're a slut. It's like the same.
Yeah, so it's a weird relationship. I think the only reason that I don't tend to default to that is because of the education that I've had that has made me examine all of that piece by piece.
Yeah.
Forcefully.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I'm curious to know kind of like more about how you got into burlesque and like what that means for you and your body now.
So as I had said, like I got into burlesque due to a class assignment. I ended up really liking it. It completely revolutionized the way that I feel about my body.
Wow, that's great. I love that.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, on occasion, I think it makes me kind of my harshest critic on my body because it's so visible and in the forefront of my life.
Yep.
But having grown up in such a conservative family, like the biggest value that was instilled in me, or attempted to be instilled in me, I should say, from a very, very young age, it wasn't like love thy neighbor or anything like that. It was modesty. Modesty was like number one. Not even necessarily purity. I think that purity was part of it, but like the big umbrella that I grew up with was like everything needed to come from a place of modesty. And I'm interpreting that like how a lot of evangelical Christians interpret it, with like actual physical modesty. Don't show very much.
Yeah.
Tends to also include being like dainty and demure and ladylike. And I can rant about that forever because the actual interpretation of the Bible verse is modesty in flaunting your wealth is what was
Okay.
So it's like the modesty from the Bible verse that they're quoting is usually more actually about being humble.
Wait, you mean to tell me that people have been misquoting the Bible for thousands of
know,
years? I had
wild,
no idea.
Right? But yeah, I grew up in a very conservative Christian family. My mom used to work at Focus on the Family. I don't know if that... Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I went to youth group every week. I went to church every Sunday.
Oh my gosh,
I was in church camp. My dad was in the Air Force. My dad was never like particularly religious, but it's still just like his position as an officer in the Air Force like translated a lot of the same expectations.
Yeah.
And it was everything in my life was dictated by me being modest. So like my mom had to approve any clothes that I wore, and like my mom went about it in a very interesting way. Like a lot of people talk about like getting yelled at for what they were wearing, or like being called a slut for what they were wearing. My parents never really did that. My mom would just kind of make me do like a little fashion show during the day, and she'd be like, oh. No, I think that skirt's a little too short. Like, and like, honestly, she usually let me wear whatever I picked out in the morning because she was the one who bought the clothes.
Yeah.
So if they weren't modest, they didn't make their way into my closet. And it was also like I couldn't swear. I wasn't supposed to be too incredibly loud. And all of this, it sounds like my parents were very dictatorial when I say this, but all of this messaging was like very subtle that I got. Like it was like slight societal and like social punishments that were handed my way, where like people would look at me weird, or there would be snide remarks under like people's breath and stuff like that. Like usually it wasn't directed to my face in any sort of way. But at one point when I was younger, there's like a specific point that I remember. I was in a dance class. I really liked hip hop dancing when I was younger. You know, me and my pasty white ass in a pasty white city.
In the Springs?
In the Springs.
What studio did you go to?
I don't even remember. This was in like 3rd or 4th grade.
Oh my gosh,
or something.
that's hilarious.
No, that's
I
too
grew up
young.
doing hip hop in Boulder, so I get it.
Yeah, that's too young, actually. This may have been like 6th grade. I may have been in middle school at this point. But I had taken dance classes and stuff when I was younger, but like finally I was allowed to start doing hip hop. But my mom like would not just let me do hip hop at any studio. She like talked to the teachers and needed to make sure that the the showcase outfits were appropriate.
God.
And so she found a Christian dance studio because apparently that's a thing.
Yeah.
And we had to be modest when we were like with the clothes that we wore to our classes, and then the dress. Why am I having a hard time thinking of the thing that happens at the end? Showcase? Maybe?
Recital?
Recital. That's the word I'm looking
okay.
for. The recital outfits were appropriate, and the song choices to what we were dancing to didn't have any. It was very steeped. And like this was nothing that I realized like at the time. This is all stuff that I've kind of realized retroactively. But at one point, I heard my mom talking to another mom that part of the reason that she liked this studio is because there weren't very many dads waiting there or watching the practices go on, because she was really afraid that these grown-ass men were going to be ogling her 11-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like a valid concern. I get it.
But the fact that it's a concern at all,
yeah, it sucks.
is so like that was really the first time that I realized like, oh, I am seen as an object of temptation.
Yeah.
And
wow, 11 years old.
11 years old. And then once middle school and like puberty started hitting, and like all of the youth group talks turned towards like, oh, you need to dress modestly so you aren't tempting somebody else's son.
Yeah, God forbid you're the one that's making someone else behave badly.
Yes. So I got the messaging real quick, like, oh, the way that my body is and just exists is the source for somebody else to fall religiously. Mm-hmm. And I was still very religious at this point. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, not
You're
that.
like, don't fall away from God. Not my
No,
man.
I can't be responsible for somebody else going to hell. Oh no. And I don't really know when that started chipping away, because like I became promiscuous fairly young, actually, because it was all taboo. So I was just like, I made one mistake. I'm going to hell already. I might as well. But like I was still holding on to a lot of the, oh, well, that's done in private. Mm-hmm. This is still my body in private. These are decisions that are made behind closed doors. I was still holding on to the modesty in any sort of public sphere. Until I started burlesque. And then I realized that, like, I'm gonna be ogled either way.
Yeah. I mean, you could be wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt at a Costco.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be ogled either way. My body is going to be subject to violence either way. Either physically or emotionally, or just by nature of legislation against it. And when I did my first like burlesque recital, I remembered the word that time.
The word recital is so funny to me to use like as an adult.
I
it
know.
Is like it is what it is, but it feels so childish.
It's like, did I go out in a tutu and tap shoes? Like,
yes. Was the teacher on the stage with me doing the dance?
Doing the dance up in the wings, going, no, to the right.
Yes.
To the right. But it was like it wasn't like a public show. Mm-hmm. It was invite only. Every person who was in the workshop got to invite, I think, 3 people.
Oh, cool.
To come. And I had my 2 best friends there, and the guy that I don't even want to say we were dating. We had gone on a few.
Oh, okay. A situation.
This was before the word situationship existed. We were a casual thing.
Yeah, a thing. Yeah.
We're a thing.
I used to use that word a lot. We're a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, things were my specialty in college.
The non-committal, I like you and I think you like me, but neither of us are really going to do anything about it. Yep.
Yeah. And so they came. I still have that recording, and good God, do I look like a baby deer? Just like,
Yeah.
I wasn't even wearing heels. I was wearing combat boots, and I was still just
Oh
like,
my God, that's
a
hilarious.
shaky little baby. But
Yeah.
like, it was one of the first times that I felt in control of how other people were perceiving me.
That's
And
interesting.
like, not in control of like how they were perceiving me, but I was in control of the outcomes of how they were perceiving me. Because like, ultimately I can't make people see me a certain way.
Right.
If people look at me and they're like, damn, that is a person with a nice ass, and that's all they're ever going to see me about, I could cover my ass, I could put it right in front of their face, that's all they're going to see, because that's what they've decided. But, like, I was able to take a thing that previously has been thrust upon me and decide what to do with it. And it was what I wanted to do with it, not what I was told I should do with it. And it kind of just like launched from there. Like I've always, I don't want to say I've always been a bit of a hothead, because like I was a goody two shoes growing up. People who know me now, they're like, what?
Yeah.
But like,
That's how it happens though, right? Like you grow up sheltered, you like come out of your shell and you're
And like I came out of my shell, like when I was young, I was really, really shy, and then I started theater, and like I came out of my shell and I started being, I don't know, it's like I started being kind of a pain in the ass in high school, but only in spaces that I was comfortable in.
Yeah.
So like theater, I was a pain in the ass. Everywhere else I was like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of keep my mouth shut and keep to myself. And like, I was a straight A student. I just don't make waves publicly. Was really the thing. Don't become a problem. In theater, I was constantly a problem, but it was like one of those places where like I felt comfortable doing so for the first time.
Yeah.
And then burlesque kind of launched that into the rest of my life. Like, I have become a much more outspoken person since then.
That's awesome.
And I think it was because, like, I just realized, like, oh, this is the first time, or, like, now I realize that I am in control of something. I don't know exactly how.
Well, you're like, you're deciding to go on stage, you're deciding what you wear, what song you're using, what moves you do.
And like previously I had been so scared for a lot of my life that like me falling outside of this bracket of modesty was just somehow going to like make the world crumble.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
well, it's kind of what you were taught, right?
Yeah, but like it was expanded from like, oh, you're going to tempt somebody's son to like, the fabric of society will just completely unwind.
Yes.
And I did it, and no one died, and the sky didn't fall, and I didn't even believe in heaven and hell at this point, but like, it's just one of those things of just like, oh no, this sounds like a you problem.
How do your parents feel about you doing burlesque?
So they know. My dad. It's really funny. He knows. He has no desire to talk about it. But it's every once in a while, my aunts. I have some aunts who are hilarious, and they're like, "Why aren't you going to her shows?" And he's like, "I love my daughter. I'm gonna support her from over here where I can't see what's happening."
Yeah, would you even really want him there anyway?
I don't really want him there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my dad at a show like that.
I know some people whose parents do go. But they tend to be the performers that are a little bit more artsy-fartsy about it.
Okay.
Whereas mine is just like, I'm going to stare at you and give you a boner, and you're going to be concerned.
Yeah.
Which I don't want my dad seeing me like that. I don't want my brother seeing me like that.
Yeah.
Both of them are just like, woohoo, you do you. I'm going to be over here.
Yep. No, I think that's like more appropriate than not, honestly.
Yeah. So like they're cool. They realize I'm an adult.
Yeah, you are.
And I mean, my brother's always been supportive of everything that I do, no matter what. But like, my dad as an adult, like my dad is actually like pro sex workers' rights.
Oh, nice.
It's very funny. We talk about it whenever we do. It's usually when both of us are ganging up on a person who's being a dick. And he's like very pro sex workers' rights even before I told him that I do burlesque. But whenever we talk about it, he just talks about it as if it doesn't apply to me, which I'm just like, okay, we can.
Yeah.
That's not necessary, but you know what? That's better than a lot of people get from their parents. So
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not going to fault him too much for that. My mom, on the other hand, she's still religious, more so than when I was a child.
She's less supportive?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You'd think it would be the dad.
No, my dad kind of just, he came from a family of 10 kids, so, like, he raised me as if he had 10 children. He didn't. It's just me and my brother.
Yeah.
But it was very much like, you're gonna learn how to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And, he's just like, no, I raised you to be your own person, and you went and you did that. And that's just, and like, he was never particularly religious either. So like all of the modesty stuff was really mostly coming from my mom. And yeah, my mom was pretty religious when I was younger. And then she relaxed for a little bit. And then the last couple years it's come back with a fervor. And, when I told my mom that I do burlesque, it was like interesting. There was a lot of, I didn't raise you to completely disregard the value of modesty, and I was like, no, that was a value you wanted. I never valued.
Yeah.
I never valued that. That was the thing that was put on me. And I also find it funny. She also like swears, she's like, no, I didn't raise you to be like this like strong-headed blah blah blah. I raised you to be a lady. And I was like, Mom, have you met yourself? You are a bulldozer of a woman.
Yeah.
Like, sorry to say this, but you did raise me this way. She just didn't realize what direction I was going to take it.
Yeah.
And we still have quabbles over it. I just say I have a gig. She doesn't know the name of my shows.
Okay.
Because a lot of them, like, I mean, God, my baby show that I love so much, it's mine, I love it so much, is Blasphemy.
Yeah.
And, like, she will never know the name of that. She has never seen me.
Is she on social media?
She is, but I have completely separate social media for my personal stuff. And she is blocked on all of it.
Nice.
So is her best friend. So is her mom. So are several other people on her side of the family.
Gosh.
All blocked.
Yeah.
And it's not like they found me or anything. I think one person did find my profile at one point and sent my mom a screenshot and was just like, somebody's impersonating your daughter.
Oh my God. You're like, yeah, it's me, actually. I've been cosplaying myself, Mom. Surprise.
Oh my God. It was so funny. She didn't know what to say. She was just like, thank you for bringing this to my attention. She's like, I had to lie to somebody. And I'm like, well.
You know how I genuinely feel about this? Because, so I have an OnlyFans. I've had it for, 2.5 years. And, I recently talked to my parents about it because, I didn't know that they already knew because I had never talked about it with them. But I basically lately had to be like, hey, I have an OnlyFans. And they were like, yeah, we know. We saw it on your link in bio or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess it was good because they had time to process on their own before, we talked about it. And by the time we talked about it, they were like, you're, almost 30. You're going to do what you're going to do. As long as you're being safe, whatever. But I used to have a little bit of shame about it, especially because when I started the account, I was still really heavy into just being a stand-up comedian. And so I felt like, for all intents and purposes, I was kind of a guy's girl, which is really gross and annoying.
I mean, we've all had a pick-me phase.
Yes, and I just wanted all the male comics to like me, and I was in Florida, and I wanted it, so it was a surprise to a lot of people that I started an OnlyFans. But then as I moved to Denver and I kind of started decentering men and realizing that this is just like a job. And like, here's the thing. I'm not going to look like this forever. Like, I'm going to look completely different in 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So why not use my youth and my beauty now and make some money?
Yeah.
And like, say fuck, because at the end of the day, it's like, I know that there are a lot of people who are like, oh, well, what about your children? Or like, what are people going to think of you? And in my head, I'm like, I don't do nudity or like I'm not doing like porn. It's literally it's like boudoir photos or videos or whatever. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, God forbid someone sees a really hot photo or video of me on the internet. Oh no, what are they going to think of me?
Well, and here's the thing. Even if it was like X-rated porn, parents do things that their children should not know about all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It is just, there's an adult part of the world, and then there's a part of the world that children are made aware of. And whether or not you made that public or not, your children are going to find out things about their parents that they don't want to know. That's just a fact of life. And they're like, but what if the kid gets bullied? Well, if they don't bully them about that, it'll be something else, because kids are mean. Like, none of these things are exceptions to just like how life works. Unfortunately, I had an OnlyFans for quite a few years. I stopped doing it because I just got so tired.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's very so exhausting. Tired, and I wasn't pulling enough money to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And because like oddly enough, the pandemic actually like made a huge hit to my OnlyFans.
Oh, interesting.
Because so many people started doing it at the same time.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
So it like completely saturated the market, and I couldn't keep up. And that's just kind of, it's what it is.
Yeah.
And like my parents never knew about my OnlyFans, just because at that point we just stopped talking about specifically what it is that I do. And like I let my mom have her illusions of whatever she thinks that I do. I don't really correct her that often.
Yeah.
Because also her assumptions vary wildly. Because sometimes she's like, oh, you're like a chorus girl at a Vegas show with your feathers and your rhinestones.
You're like, yes,
and
yes, I am the last showgirl, Mom.
Yes,
that's totally
like,
what
yep,
it is.
Totally just rhinestones, and I'm prancing around on stage and not doing anything particularly sexy. It's just like, I'm tiptoeing around. And then sometimes I'm like convinced that she just thinks I'm having an orgy on stage, and I'm just like, neither of those things is true. Can we meet in the middle somewhere?
Yeah.
But it just, and a lot of the time she will say that it comes back to her concern about my safety. She will bring it back to that. She feels like I'm putting a target on my back, which I would believe, except for I have been catcalled so much less when I am in face and I am in costume.
Like if you're just out in the world, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
I will show up to venues like mostly in costume, and I will have, or I'll be doing photo shoots like in the wild, pretty scantily clad. I very rarely get catcalled when I am in that form.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I'm just existing in the world and minding my business, and I don't have any makeup on, and I'm in sweats and like an oversized t-shirt, and my hair's up in a messy bun, I get like men demand my attention.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because it is so true. It's like you could be walking to the grocery store in your everyday fit, and some man's like, you know, how you doing, baby, or whatever the fuck. But then like if you go out, if you're on your way to like an event, like I went to the Diva Awards.
The Divas,
and I wore this like sheer maxi dress or maxi skirt, and so like all you could see was like a nude like brief. So like my legs and my ass were like out. Past so many dudes, not one of them said anything.
Yeah, because I think any of the men who feel confident to catcall, they're doing it to get a specific reaction.
Yeah.
It makes them feel powerful.
Yeah.
It is a thing where they're like, oh, you need to be grateful that I'm demanding your attention because you're not really worthy of it, is like the undercurrent
it's like, I noticed you when you weren't dressed up.
Yes.
You should be thankful.
When I am dressed up, when I look like that and I am exuding that type of confidence, it takes all of the fun out of it because now they're the one who does not have the upper hand. I'm the one with the upper hand in that situation. I know that I am hot. I am commanding the room. I am walking in. And they are lucky to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sucks the fun out of it for them.
Fuck yeah. Suck it out.
Like, so it's a thing where, like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I do have to take a certain amount of precautions. Like, I don't have any identifying stickers on my car that have anything to do with my shows. Anything inside my car that has anything to do with my shows, I try to keep hidden.
Yeah.
I have people walk me to my car. Because I think if anybody is likely to do anything, it would be in a state where, like, I am not on a microphone. I'm like, it would be in a take me by surprise type of thing. And it would probably be by somebody who is an over-familiar audience member. I have had over-familiar audience members. Like, these things do happen. And sex workers also tend to be far more targeted.
Yes.
For violence. But it is one of those things where, like, unfortunately, due to the world that we live in, I have been subjected to sexual violence no matter what I look like. And at least this way I get to go down swinging with my middle finger up. Yeah. And, like, it makes me feel more powerful, which makes me move through the world in, like, a more powerful way. And that's not a thing that very many women actually get to experience at any point. Just with the state of vigilance that we tend to have to exist in the world. So it's kind of a paradox. Like, it simultaneously does put a little bit of a target on my back just because of the violence that is thrust upon sex workers, like, a lot of the time. But at the same time, it makes me feel more confident. And, like, if I'm going to be living slightly afraid of things happening to me all the time anyway, just by virtue of being a woman. Yeah. I might as well do it my way and at least
look good doing it.
And I might as well just become somebody else's problem in the process.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the only way to go about it. Also because I feel like the majority of burlesque shows, because it's understood that it is a burlesque show, it's like relatively, there's like a different standard of respect, I feel like, rather than when you go to somewhere that's maybe not intended to be a place where, like, sensual movement or whatever is expected.
Yeah, it tends to draw a certain crowd. There are anomalies. There will be people, like, I've had somebody come right up on stage while I'm performing and try to, like, start grinding up on me.
Ew.
I've had to drag
a man or a woman?
Both.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say a drunk woman would do that.
With men, I've had to drag men out the front door by their earlobe. That one's always really fun. Yeah. And I can always tell really, really quickly if that was their point. And they're like, ooh, I want to be punished by a hot
they're
woman.
like, I want to be publicly humiliated.
And in which case I have the doorman silently escort them out, and then they're really sad. But I actually tend to have women be more handsy with me than men.
Yeah, you know what? We should get into that. Yeah. Funny enough, I feel like women, especially white women,
especially white straight women,
cisgendered straight white women, able-bodied, you know what I mean? We could go down the whole list.
Middle age,
like it's always loves a wine spritzer, loves a White Claw. Like they're always so emboldened at comedy shows, burlesque shows. Anytime there is a female performer and they come across confident and they come across as like, oh, I'm like your friend, you know what I mean? They always take it upon themselves to be like, oh yeah, I am your friend. Like, let me help you. Let me come up here and, like, show you how funny you are, show you how hot you are. And it's like, why would you think that it's okay just because you're a fellow woman?
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like I've had to have the talk of, like, hey, you can't just smack my performers' asses.
Wow, good for you.
Hey, you can't just grab my ass.
Yeah. How do they respond to that?
It depends on how drunk they are.
Ugh, yeah.
So, like, I actually had a woman a couple months ago try to kiss me on stage. And I was like, first of all, I know you're straight. Yeah. Like, I know, like, it's just the way you went about that.
It's almost like the attention of it.
Yes. And I think that a lot of the time there is the assumption that since they are not a man, they are non-threatening.
Yep. Yep.
And I think it comes from a lot of devaluing their own power and capability of inflicting violence. And it's a thing that, like, as women, we're not really ever asked to examine. And it's really, I mean, it's hard to think of yourself as capable of inflicting violence, especially, like, if you're not, like, women, we are taught to do so many things. I shouldn't even say women. Girls are taught to do so many things that are emotionally violent from a very, very young age to other girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, we're taught to expect that our friends are going to do something.
Yeah.
To
backstabbing, gossip, steal a guy.
Yes. And we are taught that other girls are competition.
Yep.
And that we should expect that they will be doing the same cutthroat things. And, like, there are so many wonderful things about growing up being a girl and being a woman and, like, girlhood and girl friendships. There's so many wonderful things about it. But, like, there's dark underbelly under there. And it's not stuff that, like, we're ever really taught to examine. And then it comes out of us in situations where I feel like they don't even consciously know what they're doing. It's just there's another woman who's vying for attention.
Yes, and I'm gonna, like, get in on this.
Yes, I'm gonna get in on this. Either I'm gonna ride the coattails, I'm going to join in so then I can also bask in the glory, or I'm going to do something to undermine it. And like, I don't think there's ever actually malicious intent behind it at all most of the time.
It's just...
Every once in a while there is. There have been a few times where it's like there's very obviously a case of the girlfriend of a guy who is at the show is very, very jealous.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't happen very often, but it has happened before.
What do those interactions look like?
I've learned to steer clear. I can usually see the look of, like, she is watching me like a hawk to make sure that I do not touch her boyfriend in any sort of way that can be deemed inappropriate. Her boyfriend is being very careful with how he interacts with me. And usually I just entirely ignore the couple, or I just give her way more attention than him. And I will, like, visually brush him off. I'm just like, nope. I've literally taken money out of a boyfriend's hand and put it into the girlfriend's hand for her to give to me. Like, I'm just like,
I love that. I love that.
The only time I've ever been called a slut when I was on stage was very clearly a girlfriend that was feeling very insecure, and they probably just should not have come to
why the fuck are you gonna come to a burlesque show if you're gonna call a dancer a slut? Like, that's... to me, that's, like, so uneducated. I don't know why.
I think it was somebody in the friend group's idea to go, and she didn't want to be seen as, like, the crazy or controlling girlfriend. She was trying to be chill and cool and got there and couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Which, like, don't get me wrong, I've been that girl before who has agreed to things because I don't want to be seen as the crazy girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
but you gotta, like, fucking
embrace the crazy.
Yeah,
just
you gotta, like, you
embrace
just fucking admit it.
Crazy.
I've had women come up to me, and I do a lot of jokes about, like, my body, and I used to do way more jokes about my boobs specifically in, like, a self-deprecating way. Not in, like, a I'm so hot, more in, like, a my boobs are sloppy, I have weird nipple, whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a time that a woman came up to me after a comedy show, same person, right? Middle-aged, drunk, like, dyed blonde hair, whatever, and was like, I love your act, but, like, I would never talk about myself like that.
Cool, I'm not you.
Yeah, and I kind of was, I didn't know if she meant, like, she thought I was being mean to myself and she was trying to compliment me and be like, no, you're pretty, like, don't do that to yourself. But I realized very quickly that that's not what she meant, because she was like, I just feel like it's degrading to all women for you to, like, talk about your boobs. Like, none of us need to be doing that in front of men. And I was just like, this lady was, like, very clearly going through it. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry that your husband just divorced you, Betty, but, like, I'm not gonna... It was, like, so annoying to me.
This seems like a not me problem.
But then there's also women who will come up and they'll be like, because I did a bunch of jokes about my boobs, they will come up to me and like grab my boob or grab my hair. And I used to do a bunch of jokes about being bisexual, and there'd be so much like, what is the word for like performative sexuality when it's like they're straight but they're like pretending to be like lesbian almost for like attention? Maybe that's just what it is performative sexuality. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's
it's like virtue signaling,
yeah,
in a weird way.
But in a it's a weird roundabout way. I don't really know that there's a word for it, but like I think that definitely, yeah, it's I mean, what it really comes down to is the objectification of women.
Yeah.
And it just, it's
like, on one hand, I think you, like, if you want to tell me I'm hot, like, tell me I'm hot. I love that. Like, I will always tell a girl when I think her outfit's great, when her hair looks good, like, but I'm not going to, like, come up to you and make you feel uncomfortable by projecting my own bullshit that I haven't worked through onto you.
Yes. I think that there's also a misconception that when somebody puts themselves on stage that they have somehow, that it just negates boundaries.
Yep.
It's like, oh, no, your being is a thing for my consumption.
Yes.
Which is not accurate. And actually, so I want to answer the second half of your question where you're like how they handle that conversation. And then I just remembered a second thought that actually goes back to the very first question that you asked me.
Okay, I love it.
But some women, if they are newer to burlesque shows, often they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought that was like a normal thing that we were allowed to do at burlesque shows. I will not touch you anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times they just think it's just like, this is a touch and feel situation.
God.
When it's not. And usually it goes fine. If it is a person who like heard the rules at the beginning, it is not their first burlesque show, they get so offended.
Yep.
That I would presume that they would do something with malicious intent. I'm like, I don't give two shits if it was malicious or not. Yeah. It's not allowed.
Yeah. And you do say rules at the beginning of the show for a reason. I say rules at the beginning.
And I'm like, don't touch my performers without permission. If you have a question mark on, do I have permission to touch? The answer is no. If somebody is putting a strap in your face, that means that you can put money in that strap.
Yes.
You cannot do anything else. If you have not had a discussion with a performer on whether or not you can touch them, the answer is no. Yeah. It's no until, presume no until you're told yes. Yes. And I've had people ask me, they're like, hey, can I slap your ass? And I go, I see a 1 in your hand. Can you make that a 20?
Yeah, that's the right answer.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, then yes, you can slap my ass. But like, for $1, no. I mean, 20 is even cheap, but I get adrenaline and my brain goes out the window. But going back to my relationship with my body, I meant to say this because this is the direction I wanted to take it when I was mulling over your question when you let me know, like, what the main question of the show was. Part of the reason that my body is so complicated for me now is, like, since my body is kind of propped up as a commodity in my work, I have to draw very, very strict boundaries over, like, when my body is for viewing. Yes. When it is being used as a tool in my job. And when it just exists.
That's a very important distinction to make.
It is a very important distinction to make, and it's also a thing of either way, it's mine.
Yeah, of course.
Either way, it's mine, and it can be really hard to remember that sometimes. And a lot of the times when I am feeling extremely burnt out on burlesque, when I feel like I'm extremely emotionally drawn out, those are times that I have, like, forgotten, no, this is for me. Yeah. Alabaster is not for the audience. Alabaster is for me. And my job is to bring in an audience and create a fan base that is there because they happen to like how Alabaster functions. Yeah. It is not my job to change myself to bring in a bigger audience.
Yes, and I love that.
It's really hard to remember that when it's tied to your monthly bills. Yeah. It's really hard to remember that. And it's really weird and interesting, too, because, like, Alabaster is not a completely different person than I am as a civilian. And it's just Alabaster is the marketable parts of me that already exist dialed up to 11. And then it's also, I add in all of the things that, like, I wish I could be. Mm-hmm. And it turned into kind of a fake it till you make it situation. So, like, I wanted to be more outspoken. I wanted to set better boundaries. I wanted to speak up when I saw things happening to people that I didn't think was right. Like, I wanted to be loud. I wanted to be not ladylike. And these are things that, like, I feel like my civilian self a lot of the time can't do because of job or, like, energy levels and outgoingness and, like, stuff like that. Like, Alabaster just does not have a filter. She just goes.
Hey, we love that.
She just goes. And, like, I feel like my civilian self, it's very, like, everything passes through a filter before it comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And same with, like, my movements and the way that I operate in the world. And sometimes I have to remember that when I am on stage. Like, this body, even though it's a tool for me to make money.
Yes.
It is mine. It is nobody else's.
Yep.
Even if I have to sometimes be like, remember.
No, I struggle with that sometimes too with
Yeah.
OnlyFans because, like, even today, it's like I know I need to go and make more content. Like, I know I need to go do that. But, like, part of me is like, oh, but I don't feel that way right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel sexy. I don't feel excited to do any of that. But I'm also like, but I know that it's, like, not necessarily me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different version of
Yeah.
me that I'm, like, utilizing for money.
Well, then can I ask you a question? Do you have any rituals about how you get into that headspace?
No, and I probably should.
It
Most
helps.
of the time, it's just me playing music. Like, I'll play a lot of, like, girly kind of just, like, pump up, like, pop or, like, throwback 2000s R&B. Like, just trying to get in the zone of almost like where I would be if I was about to dance on stage.
Yeah, it's
Because-
a specific headspace.
Yeah, it's like, it's very, I don't know why, like, the song Gimme More by Britney Spears
Oh,
is
yeah.
always the fucking,
Yes.
that's the switch for me, is like, I know if I hear that song, I'm like, I can get into that character.
Mine's my eyelashes. I'm not wearing them right now because,
Yeah,
like,
putting on eyelashes?
we're like doing it like person to person, so
Yeah.
it's like I don't really need to get into the full Alabaster on stage
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. False lashes are
I
like
love that.
they're my trigger. The
I
second
love
and
that.
then the second that those bad boys come off at the end of the night,
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's a good trigger though, because it's like it's a tangible physical thing
Yeah.
that you have to, like, put effort into putting on and then taking off.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
building rituals around it.
It's like
helps
de-dragging at the
a
end of the
lot.
night.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I love that. Okay, so I feel like we've talked a lot about some very deep topics.
Yes.
So I want to lighten the mood a little bit
All right.
before we end
Yes.
the episode. So I have this stupid game that I
Okay.
want to play with you that's actually has been derived from my old podcast.
Okay.
And it's a game called Cap or Bussin'. Do you know
I
what the
know-
meaning of those two things are?
I know what cap is.
Okay, so
Bussin',
I
the context is throwing me
I don't
off.
know if Gen Z still uses this word, but I'm gonna still use it because I think it's hilarious. Bussin' is like a way to say something is good.
Okay.
So sometimes, like, a lot of the time, it was used on TikTok for a while to describe, like, food. So they'd be like,
Okay.
"Damn, this spaghetti is bussin'."
Okay.
But Cap is like, "No, that's stupid. You're
I'm
lying."
going to warn you right now. I'm going to sound very old when saying these words.
That's the point. I
am
love it.
33.
I think that's funny though. I think that's because if I was to get a Gen Z person on here, they'd be like, "Oh, we don't even use those words anymore," and I'd be like, "But it's funny. I think it's funny."
That's
so
all right.
I have
I'm gonna
a list
Yeah.
of 20 things here.
Okay.
And we're just gonna, like, rapid fire. I'm gonna say what it is. If you don't know what it is, tell me. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll know what all these things are.
I might not. I don't know.
But I just want you to tell me, of these 20 things, are they Cap or are they Bussin'?
Okay.
Okay, ready? The first one, skinny talk.
Cap.
Wellness influencers.
Cap.
Diet soda.
It depends on who. Cap for me. But I know some people like the flavor of Diet Coke specifically,
Yeah,
especially if it's from McDonald's.
You're never gonna make me hate Diet Coke.
Yeah.
A Diet Coke from the fountain from McDonald's, bitch, say less.
Yes.
Okay. 24-hour gyms.
Cap. Nobody needs to do anything 24 hours.
Who's going in there at 2 a.m.? Who's going in there at 2 a.m.? Why are you open? Low-calorie ice cream.
Cap.
Cap, right? Going to therapy.
Bussin'.
Emotional support water bottles.
Bussin'.
Bussin'. The BMI.
Oh, cap.
Cap. Total cap.
It's stupid, and it's not even accurate. In
No,
anything.
it's not. Okay, weighing yourself every day.
Cap.
Tracking your macros.
Cap.
Gross,
Sorry,
right?
I used to be engaged to a personal trainer.
Oof.
And I just, if I hear the
Thank
word
you for your
macros,
service.
if I hear the word macros one more fucking
Gross. Okay. Matcha.
Ooh, Bussin most of the time.
Okay. I've never tried it.
It fucks with my iron levels. If you are iron deficient, take an iron supplement.
Before you drink it?
Yeah.
Why does it suck out your iron?
I have no clue what the mechanism
What the
is.
fuck?
I don't even know if what I'm saying is true.
All right. Well, we're just spreading misinformation on this podcast.
Yes.
Allegedly.
It does make me feel kind of like zapped afterwards, but
Yeah.
it is tasty.
Yeah.
But it does taste like grass, but I like.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say
it.
I feel like it just looks like ground up grass. Okay, anyway.
It tastes like grass, but I like it.
having regular bowel movements.
Oh, that would be bussin' if it fucking happened.
Bussin'. If I had regular bowel movements, I'd be unstoppable.
Right?
Okay, flossing.
It's bussin', but I don't do it enough.
It's bussin'.
I even have a water pick.
Dude, I have a water pick too, and I don't use it because I don't like it. I don't like getting water all over my face.
I like how it feels afterwards,
Yes.
but at what cost?
But at what cost? Okay, meal prepping.
Ooh, can I say both? Because meal
Yeah.
prepping to like as like a restrictive thing is cap. Stupid. Meal prepping so I don't need to cook every single fucking day. Bussin'.
Bussin'. Okay. Hiking.
Bussin'.
Okay. Chiropractors.
This might be controversial, Kat.
Really?
Yeah.
I love a chiropractor.
It's great as a occasional thing, but a lot of the time, I feel like it doesn't address the underlying problem, and people will just go to the chiropractor rather than also seeing a physical therapist to fix things.
Yeah.
Good back
I don't
crack?
know.
Oh my
Every
God.
time they crack my neck, I'm like, oh, my mom does love me. Okay, detox tea.
Oh, fucking Cap.
Cap. Mouth tape.
Depends on where you're using it.
I think it's mostly for so that it's like a teeth thing so that you don't breathe through your mouth.
There's
and
I feel like, because some people say it helps you like actually sleep better, in which case bussin'. But I know
Yes.
some people, they're like, it helps snatch my jaw. Just no.
Yeah, at
Embrace
that
the
point,
jowls. We're all going to age.
a piece of tape isn't going to make you like magically lose
Yeah, it's
fat
no.
in your jawline
this
or whatever
isn't-
the fuck.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm Mexican and Irish, so I'm going to be very, very young, and then I'm going to look like a prune, and there's not going to be an in-between, and just embrace it.
Yes,
Let
embrace it.
happen.
Okay, 2 more. Zumba.
Ooh, bussin'.
Bussin'. Okay, last one. Fat phobia.
Oh, Cap.
Cap. I love that. You did great. There was no wrong answers. Although if I was like skinny talking, you would have been like bussin'. I would have been like, get the fuck out of my house.
I actually, for a second, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, oh my God, TikTok.
I just did an entire episode on skinny talk a few weeks ago because I didn't know what it was either. And then when I started looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is exactly what Tumblr was in 2010.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because heroin chic comes back in
Yes.
every once in a while, and
Yes,
it tends to
it's
be when the government's up to some bullshit. Because
Yes.
if we're all starved and tired, how can we fight back?
Yes. Okay, so before I have you sign our little affirmation board, there is one question that I'm very curious to know.
Uh-huh.
And we'll have to do it quickly, but what has been like your most favorite, most empowering burlesque performance to date?
Ooh. Last year, Easter.
He has risen.
He has risen. So every year, Blasphemy is asked to be a part of a bigger show that's called Sacrilegious Sunday on Easter Sunday.
Cool.
It's really fun. Quick rundown of Blasphemy. It's longer burlesque sets. So it's like burlesque meets grimy 90s strip club with metal music. And so it's like 15-minute long performances.
Wow.
Which I love in general because it really like allows me to get lost in what I'm doing. But last year, I did it. First of all, I came out dressed as the Virgin Mary, and I looked like a gigantic vulva, which was just amazing. And then I birthed the Antichrist out of my costume.
Oh my God.
But then I got to like baptize myself in blood on stage and like shake myself out like a feral animal onto
Holy
everybody in the
shit.
first couple rows. And then I had like a halo placed on my head with like this big beading over like accessory that like draped over my shoulders. And there were pictures of it. I got pictures of it, and I look like one of like the old blood gods in these photos.
Man, don't let the conservatives get a hold of this.
Oh my God. No, my goal is to have somebody protest one of my shows. Like I want.
Oh yeah,
I
that's how you know you've made it. That's how you know you've made it.
But yeah, that moment where, and like it wasn't planned. I didn't know that there was going to be a bathtub full of fake blood. And I just decided to do it.
Well, this is my chance.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even have like good socks on under my shoes to like strip out of my shoes.
Oh,
they were like Bob's Burgers socks.
Nice.
And because usually my shoes stay on, but I was like, I'm not getting into a bathtub with these expensive ass shoes on.
Yeah.
And that was I don't know, just sacrilege with the sexy is really like my sweet spot.
I love that. We love a good like satanic theme.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I'm always down to be a disgrace to my upbringing.
Be a disgrace. All right, so as you know, we have this little affirmation board that I have everyone sign. I have all kinds of colors over here for you. And basically, I just like to have people sign their favorite affirmations so that we can memorialize them and their episode and their thought process. People have signed all kinds of shit on there. There's like really good affirmations. There's like just random shit.
Yeah, mine, I can't talk and write at the same time. So I'm going to say my personal favorite one, and this is about my body, but also just about me as a person, is other people's opinions of me are none of my business.
Yes, I love that. I think I've said that on an episode before.
It's my favorite thing.
I try to remind myself of that all the time because it is something to remember that like as humans, one of our behaviors is like we're gonna have opinions, we're gonna have thoughts, and we can't necessarily always control them. So like if you don't like someone for just no reason, it doesn't make you a bad person, but it doesn't mean you have to like go out and say something. So it's the same thing as if someone just doesn't like you, it's really okay. Like you're gonna be fine. It doesn't affect you or how you live your life. Obviously there are power structures in play. I mean, if a boss doesn't like you, that sucks.
Yeah.
But like the majority of the time, it's like if someone is like just not about you, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, not everybody has to like me. I don't want to have to explain myself. People are allowed to be wrong. That's fine.
Yeah, they're allowed to be wrong. Let them be wrong.
Let them be wrong. Let them think what they want to think. I have no idea what bullshit they're combating in their brain. Because most of the time, I feel like if people are saying shit about other people, and it's not like based on like an actual shitty interaction that they had, I feel like a lot of the time it's they are judging people based on things that they have been judged for previously.
Yes.
And humans are social creatures. We really derive a lot of our value from what other people think about us.
Yep.
And that can have benefits, but it also has huge pitfalls.
Yes,
so,
it does.
Yeah.
It really does. Well, thank you for adding your quote to the affirmation board.
Yes.
I'm so excited to have it on there. Yes, show the camera. Before we get out of here, where can everyone find you? Where can everyone follow you, watch your stuff,
so
buy
many
tickets?
places. So I am on Instagram and on Blue Sky. I'm technically on Threads, but I never check it. And that's all Alabaster Butt.
Love it.
Butt. And I'm on Facebook under Alabaster Stone. I have a website. It's alabasterburlesque.com that has links to pretty much everything. I'm on Venmo, Alabaster Butt. And I also run a local burlesque calendar for Denver. It's denverburlesquehub.com.
Yes, you do.
And that one is actually looking for monetary support. So that has a newsletter. Alabasterburlesque.com has a newsletter. I send out newsletters every month and show reminders. And you get discount tickets on Blasphemy if you are a subscriber to my Alabaster newsletter. God, you can follow at Alabaster Productions on Instagram.
Yeah, you got a lot.
Blasphemy with 2 S's, so it's BLASSPHEMY. Woo. Blasphemy Show on Instagram. Yeah, I run way too many social media channels.
I saw that when I looked you up on Instagram initially. I was like, damn, this bitch is busy.
I am, and
But
I don't
love
get
that for
paid
you.
nearly enough, so help me.
So we will put all of your links in the show notes. Everyone can go and find you. And if you're in Denver, like, come to a show.
Yes.
It's going to be so exciting.
Especially Blasphemy. That one's my favorite. It happens the second Saturday of every single month at Lion's Lair.
Okay, cool. So when's the next one?
Next one is on May 10th.
Okay, cool.
That one's Fathers of Metal, so it's going to be a lot of like AC/DC
Fathers of Metal.
and Black Sabbath
Cool.
and Ozzy Osbourne and Guns N' Roses.
Yay.
It's going to be so much fun.
Well, thank you so much for being here on the pod.
Thank you for
I really
having
appreciate
me.
you. I'm sorry it's so cold. It's like snowing today and my house doesn't have heat and it's like a whole thing, but
I got to go do a show after this. So
hell yeah. It's going to be good.
I
And
get to
thank
do
you
this
guys.
naked later.
Yes, we're gonna get naked in the snow. Thank you guys for supporting the pod. And tune in next week. I'm Morgan Gallo. Thank you, Alabaster, and have a
Thank
good one.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to My Body, My Jokes. Please be advised that the information provided in this podcast is for general discussion purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always, always, always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional with any concerns you might have regarding the topics discussed in today's episode. Also, if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please call the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Bye.